All right, Cy, what's up, man?
Glad to be back, Andrew. Happy to be back. How you doing, bro?
Good, man. Glad to have you back. Times have been really, really crazy, man.
Oh, yeah. Post-election, we got a new president-elect, and this ass clown's about to be forcibly removed from the office since we all know he don't want to leave.
Dude, it's been a total clown show.
It has been, yeah. The circus is finally leaving town, though.
Yeah, so that's a good thing. Man, this album we're about to review is such an epic hip-hop album.
It's like a top 5 in every hip-hop review list for the past 25 years now, really.
Yeah.
Top 5 or top 10. Even like the most lyrical rappers out there, both mainstream and underground, they always cite it as one of their influences.
Yeah. And I mean, Nas is just such a heavy hitter, man. Like
he is, and he was a 19 or 20-year-old when this album was put out.
Yeah.
And it was put out during a time when New York rap was floundering, and the West Coast G-Funk era was pretty much taking over the airwaves on MTV. But this album, along with Biggie's Ready to Die, Wu-Tang Clan's Enter the Wu-Tang 36 Chambers, and Black Moon's Enter the Stage, that was like a renaissance for New York East Coast hip-hop revival.
Yeah, man, and like so many heavy hitters are also involved in the production of this album.
Oh yeah, man. Yeah, it's a varied production, very varied. At a time where like hip hop albums had only just one producer, and that formula is still tried and true today. But this is one of the first albums I've seen where it's like the producers were as varied as the sounds that they created.
Yeah, I mean, like MC Search, like
Search executive produced the record, and he's the one that discovered Nas too.
Yeah, dude. If you ever see his interview with V-Lad, check it out on YouTube, like V-Lad TV.
Or MC Search.
Yeah, it's a really good one where he goes into like talking about. I guess he had some feud with like MC Hammer. Like MC Hammer like put out a hit on him or something. Or
apparently so, because Third Base, his group that he was with, him, Pete Nice, and DJ Richie Rich, they had a song called "The Gas Face" on their debut album, the Cactus album. And they were giving various people the so-called gas face, talking about you're whack, so you get the gas face. And Hammer was a recipient of it.
Yeah. And I mean, DJ Premier. I mean, like
if you get a Premier beat on your album, you good.
Yeah,
you're good. That's solid right there.
Yeah, and then of course Q-Tip showing up and Large Professor,
Main Source, A Tribe Called Quest.
Yeah,
Pete Rock from Pete Rock and CL Smooth.
I was doing some research into this album, some of the songs, and Nas was saying that he was just so blown away that Q-Tip would help produce a song on his album. Like, and they used to hang out, you know.
Them being from Queens and all, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So like, and then it's just, you know, crazy to see all the stuff Q-Tip has done. I mean, like, he's just had such an incredible career as well. I mean,
oh, he has, man. He slept on as a producer too. Seriously, I mean,
yeah.
His album that he put out, his sophomore album in 2008 called The Renaissance, where he self-produced most of it. And I think there may have been a Jay Dilla track on there too somewhere, maybe. But the production on there was like, wow. And as a testament to it, he even has like an MPC sampler covering his face on the album cover too.
Yeah. So let's jump into this, man, and talk about it. You know, this album was, you know, recorded and released in April. I think it was April 19th, 1994.
Yes, it was.
And the producers, like we just said, Faith Newman.
Yeah, she was an A&R rep at Columbia at the time. MC Search, when he discovered Nas, right, and he included Nas on his song "Back to the Grill," posse cut on Search's solo album from '92, "Return of the Product." And Nas stole the show on that song, and so much so that Search wanted to get him a record deal, help him out. he shopped his deal to Def Jam, his own label, but Russell Simmons and Leor Cohen were like, we don't want to sign this dude. He sounds too much like Cool G Rap. And so then he brought it over to Faith Newman, who he knew, and she wouldn't let him leave the building until they had a deal for Nas.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, DJ Premier, I mean, some of the stuff that he brings to the record, I mean, the beats, the scratching, he
had like 3 tracks on here that he produced.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's his trademark, the scratching, the 1 or 2 bar type of beat or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, you just know a Primo beat when you hear it.
Yeah. Yeah. And then Pete Rock, who I didn't know too much about, kind of coming into this episode.
The Chocolate Boy Wonder.
Yeah, he's a DJ too.
He's cousin to Heavy D from Heavy D and the Boys.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't know much about him, but I forget which song he's on, but
The World Is Yours.
The World Is Yours, yeah. And then LES.
From the Beat Nuts.
Yeah. Yeah. So
that's Psycho Les, my bad. That's Psycho Les.
And then this album was recorded in a bunch of different places, you know, Battery, Unique, Chungking, and then D&D Recordings.
That's Premier Studio, yeah.
Yeah, that's a big kind of a landmark studio in New York City.
It is. It's like the 5150 studio that Eddie Van Halen owned in California.
Yeah. And then the album was released on Columbia Records. This album artwork, man, it's so cool. Like
it is. I mean, Nas's face as a child superimposed over the projects that he grew up in Queensbridge.
Yeah.
That inspired a lot, really. And people say that Biggie got the idea for his debut album cover 5 months later from this, where he had his baby daughter in a diaper just in the center of the cover.
Okay. Yeah, and then there was this album cover was inspired by actually a jazz 1974 jazz album, Hanger Trio's record, A Child Is Born, the album artwork on that, where it's essentially a child's face superimposed on the back. There was a background, I forget what the background is, but Nas took that as an inspiration.
Which makes sense considering his dad was a jazz musician.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think the picture was taken when he was 7 years old.
Yeah.
Taken by his father, who I believe was in the military serving.
He was in the military serving, but he was also working as a jazz musician. That also took him on the road a lot.
Yeah, so. Yeah. And I think the artwork was done by a lady named Amy McCauley.
Yeah, that's what I found too.
And yeah, it's really cool though. I mean, it definitely represents where he's from, and he's always been very upfront about that. Like, he doesn't try to pull any punches about.
It's no frills really. It's like he doesn't take a bombastic stage name neither. It's just Nas or Nasty Nas.
Nasty Nas, yeah. That was his like original moniker.
Yeah. I mean, he may not go by that professionally, but he don't mind if you call him that.
Yeah, and yeah. I was reading about the music videos that he does. And he would always shoot them, in Queens, in the projects, and some of the record labels were like, we're a little uneasy about that. They didn't like it. They were like, you should do more like fancy look. But he's like, no. He's like, this is what I'm about. This is who I am. This is where I'm from.
That changed his second album though, when he had the song Street Dreams. That was a homage to Casino by Martin Scorsese.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, this is his solo debut, sold over, I think to date, 2 million copies.
To date, yeah. And initially it went gold upon its initial release. Yeah.
Considered an East Coast hip-hop classic, and really a revival of alternative hip-hop.
It was cool to be lyrical again. I mean, Nas, he applied metaphors, multi-syllable rhyme schemes, uncommon similes at the time, and his flow was uncommon too. I mean, the closest thing we had to that at all in all of hip hop, East Coast or whatever, was Rakim.
Yeah.
And Rakim had just dropped his final group album with Eric B 3 years earlier, Don't Sweat the Technique, back in 1991.
Yeah. Yeah, and the name Illmatic was kind of an interesting story behind that. Was a reference to one of his friends. I think his name was Illmatic Ice, who is I think he's in jail, but it was kind of an homage or
paying homage to him.
Yeah, Yeah, so it's cool. So let's get into the tracks, man. Let's dive into this. So we'll go into the first one, the Genesis, and yeah, it sounds it opens up with like a sample of train,
Train, yeah,
and train tracks, and
somebody saying, you're never gonna go nowhere. Stop fucking around and be a man." That's from the movie Wild Style.
okay,
Yeah, a seminal hip hop movie. Yeah, Wild Style and Style Wars. Wild Style was about the breakdancing, really. Style Wars is more about the graffiti aspect of hip hop.
okay,
Yeah, both are good films, though.
yeah, and it's really like this sounds like almost like a dialogue between him and his friends in an apartment room, I'm assuming, or something like that.
Yeah, where it's like, yo, what's this bullshit we hear on the radio now, son?
Yeah, and then it sounds like they're counting money, so there could be some maybe
Something illicit going on, maybe.
Yeah,
I mean, what's it called? It's not unheard of in the projects.
yeah, and so I mean he kind of hints to his lifestyle, like how he's grown up and how the drugs have kind of riddled
his neighborhood, and despite being in his late teens, he has a maturity and like a knowledge is beyond his years.
Yeah, it's almost like he grew up a little too fast, right?
Yeah, which was funny considering he was a school dropout.
Yeah, and he kind of he hints to that. I think probably I think it was like the might be the fourth track, Memory Lane. I think where he talks about that, but 5 or 4, I think, or I think it's 6.
Six, yeah.
But
5 is halftime, yeah.
Yeah, and so yeah, it's kind of an intro, and it's pretty cool. I like how he kind of samples in the train tracks and the trains, and
it's one time where a non-rapping skit actually serves a purpose.
Yeah.
Like the album intro. I mean, other East Coast rappers were doing it, like De La Soul. Their skits, they invented the skit pretty much, and their skits always serve a purpose.
Yeah, and it kind of sets the tone. I mean, this is like where it all starts, right?
Where it starts, yeah. This is a New York rap record.
Yeah, because I mean, obviously the trains, right, and the metro.
That's like a staple of an NYC life.
Yeah. So, and then you get kind of I feel like you kind of get a hardcore aspect in the lyrics when you look at it.
It is hardcore hip hop, definitely.
Yeah. He was like, Nas, man, shit is mad real right now.
Projects. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then he's like, they're kind of talking trash about different rappers, like crab ass rappers.
Yeah, and they're not saying anybody specific, but what's it called? Yeah, it's that's the battle mentality that a lot of those rappers came up in at the time.
Yeah. All right, so let's jump to the next track. It's the New York State of Mind. This is
DJ Premier produced this.
Yeah.
Nas, word has it Nas, he did the first verse all in just one take.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just whether he wrote it all out though, I don't know, but either way, just one take. That's
impressive. Yeah, very impressive. And this the sampling is like
Ahmad Jamal is who he sampled for the beat.
Yeah, the beat's like it's hard. The bass line,
it's dark.
The bass line's like I feel like it's like high, kind of higher. It's not a low bass line. It's like a little bit higher, like tune to it, but it works. Like it just makes it sound even more hardcore.
Yeah. And plus, the piano sample too in there as well.
Yeah, the piano sample is just awesome.
It adds to the overall urban paranoia of the soundscape that Premier creates. Yeah, and for Nas just go in on, where he makes references to Scarface, monkey flipping with a funky rhythm, I be kicking. And that's back-to-back polysyllable rhyme schemes right there, and that's skill.
Yeah, I mean, you really see the artistry and the craftsmanship of him being, a really good songwriter.
Songwriter and lyricist, yeah. Yeah,
and I think it really does touch on a lot of the gang war kind of aspect in Queens and in New York City, and
definitely, especially if you grew up in like the inner city areas and whatnot, there are things that they've seen that I can only imagine.
Yeah, it's just it's a bad situation, the drug war.
It is. I mean, like, and that was a theme throughout the early '90s too. Talking about like when they go through black inner cities and whatnot, they always used to talk about like the violence, the death, the negative aspects. And then what happened? '95, Friday came out and made all that funny.
Turning Yeah, right. You could either laugh or you could cry.
Yeah, turn the funny part. Look at the funny parts of the hood too. There is some funny parts in there.
But again, this is Nas not pulling any punches. This is just raw. It's out there. I mean, it's
He is very raw. Like the line where he says, the classic line in New York State of Mind where he says, "It drops deep as it does in my breath. I never sleep because sleep is a cousin of death. Does in my breath, cousin of death." It's like, wow, you thought to rhyme those together. Wow.
yeah. I mean, when you look at the lyrics here, holding an M16,
See with
the pen I'm extreme.
He loves Scarface. He does. He references Scarface a lot on the record.
Yeah, and there's even a song title essentially named after
The world is yours. The globe. Yeah.
We'll get to that, but the references to the M16 and definitely I think the gang violence, the 9mm.
And it should be noted also that like years after this came out, when was it? I think it was '05. I think as I was finishing college. They did a remake of New York State of Mind. They called it The Streets of New York. Alicia Keys was behind it, right? And it had the same beat, but it had different verses in it. It had Alicia Keys singing, and also featured Rakim on the track too during the last verse.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, Nas and Rakim on the same track. This is okay. This is worth a listen, worth a few listens.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll go to the next one, track number 3, and that is "Life's a Bitch."
Very smooth jazz feel to this track as opposed to the boom bap of the previous track.
Yeah, I like how he mixes the jazz and hip hop together and a little bit of R&B there too,
the R&B is more prevalent to me though. Yeah. I like the mix.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of it's kind of a an ode to maybe his father as well, who was a jazz musician, and his dad actually plays a part on this song, an instrumental part.
Plays the cornet or the trumpet, yeah.
Yeah, which is really cool. It's it's pretty awesome. I like how he him and his dad kind of collaborate.
Yeah, they do collaborate. Yeah, I mean, Nas has touched on his feelings about his dad personally on other songs, like "Papa Was a Player" on what was it? The Lost Tapes, the first volume of the Lost Tapes that came out back in 2002, I think.
Yeah.
He goes about his father, how he wasn't faithful to his mother, but it's cool. Those cool though. I got the same traits.
So there's a guest on this track. It's AZ
from Brooklyn. Yeah, he's the only guest on Illmatic actually, and he got a record deal off just his one verse.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think he just sings the. Oh, he has
he raps the first verse in there.
Yeah, and his name is like Anthony Cruz. I think is like his real name.
His government name. Yeah.
Yeah, and
he's a good MC. I got several of his records. My favorite by him is Asiatic from 2002.
Okay.
Yeah, that was.
So his career actually took off after. After being on this record,
he had a career. Put it like this: he's not a million seller. He's more like a Philip Seymour Hoffman, right?
Yeah.
Like you won't ever command $20 million of film, but you'll always have work.
Yeah, he's grinding it out. Like he's one of those guys that's prolific, putting out a lot of records,
respected and sought out. Yeah.
Yeah. The beats produced by LES.
I keep confusing LES with Psycho Les from the Beatnuts. I can't help it.
And he grew up with Nas in Queensbridge, so
which is surprising considering LES means the Lower East Side of Manhattan.
I didn't know that. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. I don't know if that's what his producer name means, but when New Yorkers talk about LES, Lower East Side is what they're talking about.
Right. Okay. And I feel like this song is really social commentary on kind of life in maybe life in general, and also like
life in the hood, but life in general really is like life's a bitch and then you die. That's why you get high and puff lie.
Right. And like it's kind of like a carpe diem kind of statement. Like you better live life to your fullest and take advantage of it because one day it can be snatched from you.
And then Nas and AZ appear to accept that.
Yeah. But I just again I like it. I like this song. It's I feel like it's kind of a sleeper track on the album, but really again goes back to how he's just mixing different genres of R&B, hip hop.
Yeah, R&B and jazz mostly. Yeah, I mean, East Coast hip hop record, it's bound to be sample based in the beats.
Yeah, I mean, and also you're getting that flavor in New York, right? New York City, where you have tons of different influences musically, and
then boom bap. That's like traditional '90s New York style hip hop, really. And there are still plenty of people now that still that still try to emulate that style.
Yeah.
Which is cool. Which is cool. I mean, it's timeless for me.
Yeah. So we go to the next track, The World Is Yours, and that's track number 4. This track is a nod to Brian De Palma's Scarface.
Mm-hmm. Rappers love Scarface, and Scarface was a box office failure when it came out. But thanks to hip hop, it got new life in it.
Yeah, I mean,
like, did you ever see the Scarface 20th anniversary special edition where they have like where Def Jam, see this right here, where Def Jam produced it, and they had a bunch of rappers talk about the influence of Scarface on hip hop culture.
Yeah, I mean, the funny thing about that is that Brian De Palma,
and Nas included, he was on that video too.
Yeah, Brian De Palma, the director of the film, was like, I never thought it would ever kind of become this cult classic film and embraced by so many different people, you know, and have this kind of cult following. Oliver Stone, too, wrote that script.
While he was high on coke.
Yeah.
It wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me, but it wouldn't surprise me if what's his face, Al Pacino, if that coke on the mountain of coke that he dove his face into, if that was real.
I know, method acting, right? Or
well, he was a method actor, so yeah, I wouldn't put it past him.
Yeah. So, The World of Yours, for those who haven't seen Scarface, it's essentially it's on a statue in front of, in Tony Montana, Al Pacino's mansion. It's essentially in like right in front of the staircase, and you see it, at the end of the film when Scarface,
when he's
killed, but you see it a couple more times, but it's like it really stands out.
It's a motto, really, like Tony's motto, because he saw it after he killed Frank Lopez, and then goes back to says, "Come on," so goes back to Frank's wife, telling him, "Come on, baby, get your stuff." And he looks out the window and sees the blimp. The world is yours.
Yeah.
And he looks at it like, yeah, it is mine.
Yeah, yeah, and I feel like it's like kind of a motto for being successful, and being confident and ambition, and
it is, and hip hop runs with that, really. That's why hip hop loves gangster motifs for so much. The whole go getter attitude, even if it is by illicit means.
Yeah,
just the principle behind it, I guess.
Yeah. So and the thing I another thing I really like about this song is the the sampling, the piano piece. Mm-hmm. We get more of that, I guess, in this track. There was some of it in New York State of Mind, but I like how DJ Pete Rock is scratching at the end. It's crazy. It's really good.
It is. It's like he just turned the turntable to an instrument.
It's almost like a DJ. I mean, it's pretty much a DJ solo at the end.
And he was a DJ. Yeah, and still is to some degree. Yeah, it does pay homage to all the boroughs of NYC, even Staten Island, which was really a forgotten borough. So much so that other rappers, when they would shout out NYC, they would just leave Staten out.
Yeah.
And what's it called? I think in this song, there's a line in there that goes, "My motto used to be, fuck tomorrow. I used to spend the buck, instead of spending that buck on a bottle, spend that buck on the lotto." I think it was in this song or Life's a Bitch. But either way, now I know where Eminem got that line from when he was in the battle scene in 8 Mile.
Okay.
The second battle near the end of the film where he ends it off with, "My motto, fuck lotto. I'll get the 7 digits from your mother for $1 tomorrow." I'm like, you must have got that from Nas.
Yeah. I mean, he's got to be an inspiration for a lot of hip-hop artists out there.
So many people, so many hip-hop artists. Like, even one of the most wackest MCs out there, they may have a little bit of Nas in them the same way most music records have James Brown in them.
Yeah, exactly. And then, again, going back to what you said at the end of the song, he's paying homage to the boroughs of New York City. He's calling them out. He's like, Queens, the world is yours.
Staten, Brooklyn, Boogie Down.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was cool.
That was dope. Yes, it was.
And it's nice because it's not like he
ain't dissing nobody neither. It's just like one New York or whatever.
Yeah, it's a lot of pride. And
it's not like how it was in the 80s when, what's it called, with KRS-One representing the Bronx and the Juice Crew, who most of them were from Queensbridge.
Yeah.
And the whole Bridge Wars, the Bridge is over, South Bronx, where Queensbridge basically lost. They got shut down after that. Yeah. And in many ways, Nas coming out, it's like a resurrection of Queensbridge.
Yeah, and I mean, it was tough for him. I mean, I think he lost a pretty close friend.
Ill Will.
Ill Will, yeah. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean it's tough stuff. But he does. I mean he does say he pays homage to him. I believe it's in halftime.
Yeah,
Yeah,
halftime.
which is
with
the next track. And there's a lot of things. I mean, this is probably my favorite. It's probably my favorite track on this album, just because I love the beats. I mean, it was a single too. I think it was
It was a single, yeah, after "The World Is Yours," I think, the B side to that, I think, and it was included in the 1992 film Zebrahead, where Michael Rappaport starred in.
Yeah.
It was his first movie role, actually.
And it's cool that he named it Halftime because it is essentially it's the fifth song of a 10 track.
10-track album, yeah.
Yeah, which I think that's kind of cool. That's
It's placement, the right placement at least, yeah.
yeah, yeah. And I mean halftime obviously it's the end of the first half of a game. You know, whether that be a basketball or a football game, but it's just cool. I like stuff like that. Like
He does have historical references too. I mean, and because you think he dropped out of middle school, people think he won't know nothing. But nah, he's a well-read dude. I mean, I remember an MTV special or VH1 special I saw when I was in college, right? Where like, what's it called? Even though people were talking about his people, like, yo, Nas was the smartest dude in the hood, son. Even though he dropped out, he was always reading, coming out with new words like cranium, son. That's not an exaggeration. That was really said.
yeah, I mean he really for somebody like you said who dropped out of high school has a very strong command of language and words and
Very
and
strong.
writing lyrics and
Creative too. I mean, later tracks later on, what we see on his later albums, what he does, like "I Gave You Power" or "Rewind," those are brilliant conceptually.
yeah. So going back to this song here, Halftime. You know, we hear his original moniker in the beginning of the song. It says Nasty Nas. This song was produced by Large Professor.
Of Main Source, yeah, and also Nas got his start with the Main Source as well too. The Live at the Barbecue album on Main Source's Breaking Adams record from 1991, where he had that line where he said, "Street's disciple. When I was 12, I went to hell for snuffing Jesus." Yeah, and that line stole the show, and that's what got Nas noticed, really. So in a way, having Large Professor produce his track for him on his debut album is like full circle.
Yeah. And there's a lot of different references made to musicians like Jackson 5.
Yeah.
And then activists as well, like, Malcolm X, Marcus Garvey.
On the street, you never catch me without a ton of reefer. That'd be like Malcolm X having jungle fever.
Yeah, that line is sick. And, like, again, going back to what you said about Nas dropping out of high school, and you wouldn't think that he would know a lot about history or being such an artist, being able to do all these different things that he does in his songs.
There's a stereotype about the high school dropout. It's like you automatically think they're morons once you hear they dropped out. But I know two people that dropped out of high school, and they're some of the smartest people I know, actually.
So don't sleep on.
Yeah, exactly. Don't sleep on no high school dropout. They could be geniuses.
But man, the beat on this song, it's awesome. It's just. It's kind of one of those songs that just makes your head kind of
it does,
kind of
yeah.
bob.
It does. When I was making mixtapes in college, right, like semi-professional mixtapes, I included this on one of my East Coast hip hop mixtape series. The last one I did actually, number 10. Yeah, I had to include this one on there. I included several tracks throughout the life of that East Coast series. I included several tracks from Illmatic on there.
Yeah, and this is going back to what we were talking about, kind of. He pays homage to his late friend Ill Will.
Yeah,
his Ill Will, R.I.P. One of his friends from Queensridge, and this was the first single.
And the Thief's theme, I think that line came in there somewhere. It was like, the Thief's theme, play me at night, they won't act right. Understandable, smooth shit that murderers move with, which he later made into the song, the Thief's theme.
Yeah,
10 years later, actually.
Wow. Yeah, that's cool. But I've heard that musicians. Go back to different songs or different, maybe it was like a B-side or something, or a song they never put out. They go back to it, and then sometimes they actually end up making an actual track from that, like demo or something that they had made way back. Yeah.
They do that, or they rework it entirely. Like he just reworked a whole line in here into a song.
Yeah, that's cool. All right, so we go to Memory Lane.
It's my favorite track on this record.
Yeah, this is this is a definitely a standout. And it's cool because we hear all these different instruments.
Yeah, mainly a Peebo Bryson sample though from "You're in Love."
Yeah,
Yeah, but it's like
we hear that organ, like the Hammond organ that's on that, and it's like, ooh, yeah, yeah. It's got kind of a little bit of a creepy vibe to it, like our ghost like kind of vibe to it,
like the Ghost of Queensbridge kind of vibe. But I don't know about creepy, but
maybe not creepy. Creepy's not the right word for it. But
it's soulful. It's soulful.
Yeah, yeah. It kind of made me think of like soulful, like Louisiana or something. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. But the way Primo flipped this sample though, it's like, okay, this is boom bap. It's kind of light, but it still hits.
Yeah, yeah, and yeah, the sample was like a Reuben Wilson, like I guess.
Yeah, Reuben Wilson. Yeah,
yeah, a Hammond organ. And then you go to the lyrics. He talks about going back to the dropping out of high school. I dropped out of Cooley High, gassed up by a cokehead cutie pie.
Cooley High is a reference to the 1975 blaxploitation film Cooley High. And he makes a lot of references in here, even real life references like Kenneth Supreme McGriff, Supreme Team more Jamaica Queens thing. Heard he was Alpo's son. Heard he was King, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's who Supreme. He was making $1 million a week as a big time drug kingpin back in the 80s.
Why is this your favorite track? Like, is it just the sound of it?
The sound of it, the way Nas is his polysyllable rhyme schemes just go back to back, his flow, and it's like, and Premier scratched in chorus with the most dangerous MCs coming out of Queensbridge.
Yeah,
it's like a declarative statement. It's like, okay, because a few years later you got Mobb Deep, Nature, Cormega,
yeah,
and even CNN to some degree.
Yeah, definitely a good track. We'll go to our next one, One Love, and that's the 7th track. This song was produced by Q-Tip
from A Tribe Called Quest.
Yeah, you know, I don't like this one that much, and
you think it's soft?
I don't know. It's like maybe it's the thumb piano that they use. It's like it's kind of just annoying. It almost like
a xylophone kind of.
Yeah, it's like this like ding 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 thing, and like and I'm just like, I don't know. Like, could they have gone a little bit a different route with it and made it a little bit more dynamic?
I like it.
You like it?
I like it. For me, the weakest track is probably the one after this.
Okay.
Yeah, the one I like the least. Yeah, but this one right here. I guess the concept of writing a letter to one of your homies in jail or whatever, I think it overshadows the beat a little bit.
Yeah. I think the message is probably bigger. You know, like you said, it's essentially a letter. I think it was written from a couple of different letters that he wrote some of his friends that were in prison.
And he made a rhymed composite out of it, really. And one of the most notable person he shouts out is his boy Cormega. Yeah, his childhood friend who he had on and off beef with when he got out of jail. Because of the business side of things, really.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but as far as I know, Nas and Mega, they're cool again.
Yeah, that it definitely it's a different track. I mean, I wish there was a little bit more from Q-Tip on this one because he just kind of sings the
One Love.
Yeah, he just sings the chorus, right? And then like
I guess Nas didn't want to have that many verses on there, especially from somebody who's already established like Q-Tip, really. Because I guess Nas wanted this to be his debut, really. If he has all these guest features on there, it'll feel like he's making a cameo on his own record.
Yeah, no, that's a good point.
And a lot of rappers, they make that mistake, really. If they know they can't carry an album, they get all these guest stars up on there. It's like, okay, so where are you at?
Yeah, no, that's a great point. But you going to the lyrics, right? Dearborn, you'll be out soon. Stay strong. Out in New York, the same shit is going on.
Mm-hmm. Let them know, like, ain't nothing changed since you went away.
Yeah. Because it's, I mean, the drug war and the crime and just like all that. I mean,
it's Ed Cox. Ed Cox is New York. Cox is New York. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we go to track 8, One Time for Your Mind.
This is the track I like the least. I mean, the beat just didn't do nothing for me. It's kind of out of place, even though Large Professor produced it.
Yeah, it's a slow kind of groove heavy bass. It's just you're right. It does seem kind of out of place.
Yeah, it's slow. It's slow and groove heavy, just like you said. It really doesn't. It doesn't hit like it doesn't hit. The other tracks hit. This one doesn't.
Yeah,
straight up.
And I think Nas is just kind of like, maybe this was just his track where he was like, I just want to put something out there and I don't care what, like,
just put something together just to do it.
Yeah. Or
like fuck it.
Yeah. He was just kind of messing around. He's like, all right, well.
Yeah, like a throwaway track.
Yeah. Like you need another track to close out the album.
And ironically, because
or not close out, but you just need an extra track.
Yeah, just to throw something in there. Yeah, like a filler.
Yeah, filler track.
But even though the album is considered classic, so most won't view One Time for Your Mind as filler, but
no,
it kind of is for me.
But the lyrics are still great. I mean, when you look at it, when I'm chilling, I grab the Buddha, get my crew to buy beers, watch a flick, illin, root for the villain. Kind of, there's the root for the villain. I feel like could be references to back to the Scarface.
Again, yes, because even I root for Tony Montana at the end, even though I know he's done all this dirt.
Yeah, he's the anti-hero.
I don't even know anti. It's like he's a crazy criminal motherfucker, basically. he'll go off and kill you at the drop of a hat.
Yeah.
If Tony Montana was real, I'd be scared to be around that dude.
Yeah, exactly. So we go to the next one. Was it Represent?
This is good. I've heard plenty of rappers rap over this one.
Yeah. And the thing that's funny about this track to me is that, like, it hits so hard, but it just to me sounds like it's so stripped down. Like
for a premiere track, yeah. I mean, considering the previous 2 tracks he did on the album, this one feels as a more almost skeletal.
Yeah. But maybe it works that way, right? It kind of just.
It does.
Less is more kind of situation.
Yeah, less is more. I mean, the way the drum beat is set up, the way it just hits in, the snares and whatnot, and the backdrop, it's like, okay, this works. It's not the strongest of Premier's beats on this record, but it does work.
Yeah. And, I mean, you look at the lyrics, right? The corners is the hot spot, full of criminals who don't care, guzzling beers. We all stay out of towners.
They better break north before we get the 4-pounders and take their face off. The streets is real.
Yeah, it's definitely hardcore, man. Like,
yeah, Nas is a hardcore rapper. It's like he doesn't offer any. He's not a rapper who won't have a parental advisory sticker on his record.
Yeah. And that one does. I mean, or this one does,
I mean, I bought mine from from Best Buy, like right before college, actually.
Yeah.
Just to see what all the fuss was about. And it still has the Best Value sticker upon it, too.
Best Value. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, you look at the song title, Represent. I mean, that
represent where you come from.
Yeah, he's representing. I mean, so...
I'm like, what's it called? Like, you see him if you look at the liner notes of the album itself, he's out in the middle of the park, the Queensbridge Park, on a park bench with a bottle of Hennessy, some cups, and a spliff, and some scuffed Timberland boots. Like, this is straight up 90s New York.
Yeah.
And if you actually go to New York, there are plenty of cats in New York City and Manhattan that still dress like that too, even though they say skinny jeans are what's in. Which I don't get, because I see people with skinny jeans and Timberland boots, like, look like clown shoes.
Yeah, you're never gonna see me in skinny jeans. I can just tell you that right now.
I have skinny jeans, but you'll never see me wearing skinny jeans.
That's funny. All right, so we go to the last track here, and that is Ain't Hard to Tell. This was also a single.
Yes.
The music video is pretty cool. I was watching that. Again, shot in New York City.
And sampled Michael Jackson's Human Nature, just as SWV did a year before that for their song on the Free Willy soundtrack, Right Here.
Okay. Yeah. That was the Human Nature. You were just saying the Human Nature. That's what they sampled, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's again the mixture of the R&B, the hip hop.
And that line, he said, Nas is like the Afrocentric Asian, half man, half amazing. It's like, wow.
Yeah.
That's saying a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, to the listener who just heard that on the service, they just throw it off as like, huh. There's plenty of thought in that. Huh.
Yeah, and I think it's a good closer. I mean,
it is. And also, let me just say this, lyrically, throughout the whole album, the lyrical composition are so strong that they actually teach it in curriculum in certain college courses now.
Oh, wow.
I don't know about teach it, but it's like they use it as an example, like in English or like even a hip hop course in college. I'm like, it's about time.
Yeah, I think I'm sure they probably reference it in any like music class. You know what I mean? Like if you're studying music, like hip hop or they're college classes.
They do now, like for actual music study classes or whatever. They include hip hop music up in there. I mean, many people say that hip hop isn't music really because of the sample aspect of it, but nah, they're just taking a piece of music and reconfiguring it.
Yeah. So yeah, man, this album was awesome.
It was.
I definitely agree. It's a classic.
It is a classic record, no doubt, and Nas has never been able to duplicate it. I mean, it's not a feat he can duplicate or even surpass, really.
How do you think it like compares to Stillmatic or like Godson? Or
it's better than those.
Yeah,
it's better than those. I mean, because those tracks, they have tracks that I skip over. Illmatic, I don't skip over anything. Even One Time for Your Mind, I don't skip over it at all.
So you think Illmatic is better than Stillmatic?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Godson's probably more like more main. Do you think it's more mainstream or?
I don't know about more mainstream. I mean, they had a song on there. What's it called? What was it? Made You Look, which was a really big single at the time. But I thought Nas sounded very subdued over the track. His lyrics didn't match the energy of the beat.
Yeah.
The beat was better than the track, better than the lyrics, I thought. Except for the remix that got put out where it included Jadakiss and Ludacris, and they killed it.
Yeah.
But and Nas also had an album that came out this year called King's Disease, produced entirely by Hit Boy, and that was a very good album too.
Well, yeah, man. Thanks for coming to do this review.
Oh, I can talk hip hop all day, dude. But we'd be here all day is a thing.
Well, you do reviews, right? For
I still do, yeah. And I got one coming out for Aesop Rock's A Spirit World Field Guide.
Okay, and then what type of like what genre is that?
It's hip hop. It's like alternative hip hop. Like Aesop Rock, he was part of the whole early 2000s Def Jux, that art rap kind of thing, where he's very very stream of consciousness kind of rap, but it requires deep listening to understand the density of the lyrics. And he's on the Rhyme Sayers right now, the label that Atmosphere is on. And Aesop, he produces all of his own material. He produces all of his beats. And I got the album in the car right now, and it feels like because of the whole synth aspect of the production, it has like a creepy vibe to it, like Stranger Things.
Yeah.
Like, so what would happen if like Stranger Things met hip hop?
Yeah. Wow. That does sound interesting. Well, hey man, thanks for doing this. And we're going to be doing more of these live shows. I hope we do another album review soon, and we'll be doing another episode of the Wall of Soundtrack soon. We'll be doing The Boys, right?
The Boys, yes. That is. I got plenty to say about that. So when we get to that, you'll see.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right, everybody. Well, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
Next time it is.